Hey, I'm Chris Pratt, aka Star-Lord, and you're watching IGN's The Superhero Show.
Thank you, Star-Lord. See, that's better than my usual intros. That's Chris Pratt.
Movie star.
Putting us to shame. So you probably have realised that this episode we're going to be talking all about Guardians of the Galaxy. So if you've not seen it already, I don't know what you're doing with your life. You need to go see that movie this weekend. But we're going to be discussing whether it's better than the Avengers.
Yeah, so there will be a couple of spoilers.
Yeah, loads of spoilers. That goes without saying. And not just whether it's the best Marvel movie. And we're saying the Avengers because I think we both agree that's our favourite so far.
Yeah, I like that one. I like Iron Man 3 a lot.
I like Winter Soldier as well.
I like Winter Soldier. So the recent ones, actually.
So is it better than the Avengers?
Well, I think what made us do this show really is Dan did the review of Guardians of the Galaxy for the site. And when you were trying to give it a score out of 10, it was that discussion came up. Do we make it higher or lower than Avengers? Because we were conflicted.
I knew it was instantly good because during the movie, I was like riding this wave of euphoria. I just loved it. And I came out just thinking about it all day long. I was remembering lines that were making me laugh. I just thought it was great. And then you kind of go, well, it's a long while since I saw the Avengers. Remember coming out of that movie feeling it very similar.
Yeah.
And it's hard just to judge it, and they're very different films in many ways.
Yeah,
less of a kind of quote unquote typical superhero film, and we kind of asked all the other editors who work on IGN to kind of gauge it, who had already seen it.
Yeah,
and I think the kind of opinion of the ones we sounded out kind of felt the same.
Yeah,
I don't think we're unanimous. I know Scott, for instance, posted on Twitter last night, Avengers is still his favourite.
Yeah,
but
and we're not knocking the Avengers. I mean, it's cool that we've got two amazing superhero movies like this, but at the same time we're geeks. We like to argue these points.
Okay, so
and I think I fell down on the side of liking it just a little bit more.
Okay, so why do you think that? Why do you like it so much?
Because I felt like, why do I like this one so much? I just thought it was a perfect little movie for what it was trying to do. It was fun, exciting. It was a really good self-contained story. I liked a lot of the characters. I think you're saying it's a good self-contained movie. I think that's the thing. Like the Avengers benefited the fact. I think I did the sums last week. It benefited from 490 minutes worth of setup. Like there were a lot of films to get you to that point, and Marvel did it brilliantly over years, laying the pipe, doing these little like cute Easter eggs on the end credits. So when you got to that movie, you had time with all those characters. So when Joss Whedon, who obviously wrote a great treatment and script, really witty script, funny script, put them all in a room, it kind of you had a lot to already hold on to. A lot of characters people have never even heard of. Yeah.
And he sets them all up in 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I said this in the review, not only does he set them all up individually, he finds time to like put these little moments of connection between the characters, whether that's Star-Lord looking at Rocket's back and seeing where he'd been tested on and ripped apart and put back together. And it's a little tiny moment, but it creates a connection between them too. So when they do that great scene where they all fight for each other and stand around in a circle, it makes sense because they would fight for each other. And I think that's a really good counterpart to the Avengers scene where they all stand around in a circle back to back. And it's that kind of great moment where this is the Avengers team and the camera flies around.
The money shot.
It's like, if you think about it, it's the inverse of that scene because they're all facing inwards, and then Rocket eventually stands up and goes, great, we're all standing in a circle.
Yeah.
Because, it has the great hero moments, but then undercuts them.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like Avengers was as much an event as it was a movie.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing thing to see those characters interact with each other on screen.
Really iconic characters.
But as a film, the plot, I didn't love the plot of Avengers. I didn't like the first 10 minutes particularly, and I found the finale just went on a bit too long and slightly repetitive.
Yeah.
Whereas I didn't have those problems with this film.
Yeah.
The Avengers was more a movie of really amazing moments that I couldn't believe I was seeing on screen. But as an actual movie, I thought Guardians was stronger. I think
Guardians is great. It's so sardonic, and yet it also finds a way of being really sweet.
Yeah.
Like, really heartful. We talked about this yesterday, but the scene at the beginning when his mum's dying of cancer, and they call back to that at the end when he takes Gamora's hand when he's holding the Infinity Gem, and there's a shot that calls back to his mother superimposed over the stars. And I think in such a lesser movie that could have been so cringeworthy. I'm like, God, I can't believe you're doing that.
Yeah.
But it's done so well.
And equally, both films, similarly, they have one of the main characters pretty much sacrificing himself
to save the rest.
At the end, yeah.
And it rang a bit more true for me in Guardians. I got a little bit more choked up when I thought that Groot was dying than when I thought that Tony Stark was dying.
Right, okay, yeah.
And it's just a personal thing, isn't it? Other people might feel the other way around, but it affected me a little bit more, which is ridiculous because it's a tree. But they've done enough.
And he only has 3 words.
They've done enough 4 words because
he did, yeah.
In that scene, actually, that's the scene that chokes you up when he says, "We are Groot." But again, it's just a personal thing, you know. I mean, how about yourself?
What was the question?
Well, how about let's talk a bit about Peter Quill as well, because
I just think Chris Pratt's perfect.
I guess again, Tony Stark's kind of the rogue of the Avengers, and Peter Quill's the rogue of Guardians.
Yeah, and he's the kind of the leader, and he's the one. He's kind of the grounding for all of it. He's the character you follow throughout the movie. He's the Earthling, and I wrote this in the review. I think he's just absolutely perfect. From the moment he kind of slides onto screen and starts dancing over the opening credits till right at the end when he delivers the killer line, "You said yourself, bitch," with the Guardians of the Galaxy. He's just perfect in that role. He's charismatic, he's charming. He has those great heroic moments, like when he flies out into space, takes off his spacesuit, the helmet, to save Gamora, and then he undercuts it by going, "I was really brave there."
Yeah.
And I spoke to him last week, actually, and about how you be both a kind of lovable rogue that people can still love, but he's also a bit of a dick. So I spoke to him about the very important question of dick balance.
Dick balance is important, as anyone can attest. I think the key to creating a character and who can be seen as like lovable but also roguish at the same time, like who can do despicable things but still be likable, is to have fun. I think when people see you having fun, no matter what you're doing, it's kind of fun for them. So you know, and it's also important to throw vanity aside. Even though the character is incredibly vain, I think you have to be willing to look silly, and you have to be willing to look kind of stupid sometimes, you know?
So that's how he kind of defined the role, and people have said it's kind of Han Solo-ish, but I do think it has the capacity to be quite an iconic role for years to come.
Yeah.
Like, he's completely nailed it.
Yeah. And I guess some of these he has all his moments in this film. Some of the characters in the Avengers had their moments in previous films. So I guess that what Guardians of the Galaxy has going for it is it can really surprise us in a way that it was harder for the Avengers to surprise us.
Yeah, you've seen those characters do.
I guess the big surprise in Avengers was seeing a new Hulk and the best Hulk we've seen so far. That was the kind of cool, exciting thing that came out of that one. Whereas this one, there was lots of introductions and moments.
Do you think any kind of, it sounds like quibbling, but any kind of weak points or things where you think it misses a step and stuff?
Yeah, I didn't think the villain was great. I mean, they were setting up so much. He didn't have much of a backstory.
Yeah,
he was a religious zealot. He was insane and he was doing this, but we didn't really understand him at all.
Yeah, and I wrote this in the review, and I didn't give it any cons. You know, like on IGN, we kind of we'll sit down to these bullet points at the end, which sometimes are a bit misleading because, you know, you need to read the entire review, and people are like, "Oh, you gave it no minuses, but you gave it a 10. You didn't give it a 10." And it's like, I didn't think there were any like super weak points. I wouldn't give them a con. But one I did say is the villains, while good, and I like the design of them. I like Nebula, Karen Gillan's character. I just don't think they're the focus of the movie. And I think if you'd spent more time setting up a stronger villain, the Guardians would have got shortchanged, and it's really their movie, and you've got to set them up for the future. I actually think the whole plot in itself is a MacGuffin.
Yeah,
I said this in the review, and the film knows this as well. Peter Quill, right at the beginning, refers to the Silver Orb as the Maltese Falcon.
Yeah,
because it doesn't really matter what that is for this movie. Obviously, what it is means a lot for films to come. But in the context of this movie, it could have been anything. And it's the thing that brings them together. And
equally, I think that's a problem that can be levelled at almost all the Marvel movies. Is the villains haven't been particularly strong.
Yeah.
And there is something of a bit of frustration, I think, that we're constantly looking ahead.
Yeah.
You know, there's a villain behind the villain behind the villain.
Yeah, that's interesting. And we've got our first glimpse of Thanos, really. Yeah. Like full CGI creation.
Yeah.
What do you think of him?
Big chin. Strong chin.
Massive chin. Ben Affleck chin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that he didn't factor in too heavily.
No.
Again, because I think it would have destabilised the film.
It's just a bit of a tease, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, Yeah, we really like it.
Yeah, we do, and I've seen it twice now. But this is the thing; it can change over time, can't it? I've seen Avengers 3 times. I've already seen Guardians twice. I might feel differently in a few months, but it's cool. We've still got that giddy excitement from having just seen it for the first time.
Yeah, I'm going to go see it again this weekend because I want to relive some of the slides. Because I think it's one of the things I love about it is that it's genuinely hilarious.
Yeah,
and it makes jokes that play to different parts of the audience, but I still think everyone will find it funny.
Well, I think the interesting thing is when I watched Avengers, the second time I watched Avengers, I didn't like it as much as the first time. And I've probably seen it a couple more times since, but I find myself watching certain chunks of it rather than the whole film.
Great
the first 15 minutes I can totally do without of Avengers. I don't need to rewatch that. It's all over the place, I think, a little bit. But whereas I feel like with Guardians, I'll watch it from start to finish each time I watch it.
It's like everything just flows very effortlessly into the next thing. Like it tumbles and crashes into the next bit, and it's like prison heist, then it's escape, and it's just loads of great sequences that all drive it forward. But there's also lots of weird stuff in there.
Yep.
Like I remember just going into the movie, there was all the kind of fuss surrounding Edgar Wright departing Ant-Man. And I think some kind of members of our community were thinking, is this Marvel becoming more sanitized, Marvel taking the corners off and playing it safe? But I think this movie testifies to the opposite, doesn't it? It's a very idiosyncratic movie. It's a very James Gunn movie.
It's childish. It's the most childish of the Marvel movies so far.
It's really crude in parts.
Yeah.
So I don't think there should be any fears about that.
No, definitely not. But I think it's safe to say we loved it.
Yeah, and if you've seen it this weekend, we really want to hear what you have to think about the movie. Do you think it's the best Marvel film to date?
Yeah.
If so, write in to the really long email address that's on the screen right now, pithy, and we'll read them out next week. So until then,
cheerio.